Welcome to FailCraft, the podcast where we dive into the messy, real side of success and explore how setbacks become the stepping stones to growth and clarity. Today's guest is Michael Ostrolenk, a human resilience and conscious relationship coach who has spent his entire life studying what makes us strong. His journey started when he was just 9 years old, using meditation and biofeedback to manage his own internal challenges. Since then, he's become a master coach for the elite SEALFIT Unbeatable Mind Academy and a director of human resilience, guiding high performers through their toughest moments. He's here today to talk about what he's learned, why he believes mindset is not enough, and the common mistakes we all make when facing adversity. So, Michael, it's a real pleasure to have you on Fieldcraft. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate having me on.
All right, so let's get in started. Your journey began at just 9 years old, using meditation and biofeedback to manage your internal state and overcome life's challenges. So, can you take us back to that time? What were the challenges you were facing as a kid that set you on this lifelong path of mastering resilience?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. So when I was a little kid, kind of two things showed up for me that eventually led me to need to manage my own nervous system. One was an autoimmune disorder when I was a little kid. Ended up in the hospital for a month. It was 1979. Back in those days, there wasn't a lot of therapeutic intervention to support a child going through that or the family going through that. So it left a series of psychological scars in me, you could say, put it that way. And then I had some learning disabilities in school. Although I loved to learn, I was not a big fan of school. So schools at many times very challenging for me. And that led some scars in my psyche as well. And fortunately, at age 9, my mom found me Mrs. Pat Lawson. She was a psychotherapist, and she's the one who taught me guided meditation, guided imagery, biofeedback. Now, keep in mind, this is 1979. The technology isn't as cool as it is today. The cool, I mean, it was really cool for a 9 year old, but it's a computer screen, and the more relaxed you are, a balloon would rise. The more stressed you are, the balloon would fall, which is cool back then. But like today, it's like, oh, that's kind of old school stuff. But it was very exciting back then. So I learned biofeedback. I learned these various things, and she also got me to the martial arts. Uh, at the same time, I became very, very interested in kind of Eastern philosophy. So I read books on Zen, books on the martial arts. I was a martial artist. I love Bruce Lee. This is in the late 70s, early 80s. Also read books on yoga and Taoism. So that was kind of like my influence. And that became like an internal private interest. I can share the story later on if you'd like, but eventually became a public career of mine because now, for the last almost 30 years, I've been a therapist, psychotherapist. In the last 25 years, a coach.
Okay, that is indeed an interesting journey. So, fast forward into your work with high performers at places like SEAL Fit. So, what are the top three
Yeah.
mistakes you see these elite individuals make when they try to overcome adversity?
I'll give you a story. So I was fortunate to be a graduate of SEALFIT's 3 week SOF Academy and Kokoro camps. 3 week SOF Academy was a program Commander Mark Devine put together to train up young men who want to go Navy Special Warfare, become SEALs.
Mm.
When I did it, I was 39. I wasn't going anywhere, but literally to a guy that I trained with at the time, they all became SEALs. And then we did what's called Kokoro Camp, which is modeled after Hell Week. But instead of 5 days, is 2 days. And you don't sleep, you just go from one training evolution to the other. A big lesson I learned is in terms of like individuals failing what they need to consider. And I watched the SEAL cadre do this. I supported them as a staff person later on. I did it myself originally, but watching the SEALs go after an individual. So I remember we're on the beach. It's probably like 2 o'clock in the morning, and this one guy who's an amazing athlete, full of ego, like he could do it, but he was getting crushed. Like you can only your body can only go so far. Your ego can only take you so far. There's something like the spirit can drive you further, but if your mind gets in the way, you can almost talk yourself out of being able to accomplish something. And he was trying to force his way through this, and the SEAL cadre was just crushing him on the beach. I remember them crushing him on the beach. Why? Because for him at that moment, it was all about him. He was going to prove how much of a badass he was. But using the SEAL kind of ethos, it's a team effort. And he was forgetting about his team. He was just showing how cool and strong and powerful he was. So the SEALs are going after him. And the minute he realized that, holy shit, it's not about me, it's about my team, took his eyes off himself, put him on his team, they stopped because he learned a lesson. And a lesson that I take from that is find a good team. Surround yourself with people who can help you be accountable to what you've agreed to do, the growth you want in your life, and can support you through the process. And I use two stories or two different ways of thinking about it. Grandmother Zen and grandfather Zen. Grandfather Zen, the grandfather hits you with a stick to wake you up. Grandmother Zen, they hold you to wake you up. I think both are useful depending on the person and the process they're going through. Some people need a kick in the ass. They need friends or colleagues or coaches who can kick their ass.
Mm.
And sometimes you just need someone who can like just hold you metaphorically and support you when you're having a real tough time. But as I said, the key lesson is like, hey, you don't have to just do this alone. You can have a team supporting you, or an individual at least, but a team is even better.
All right, that was a really
Yeah.
interesting response there. So, your
Cool.
insight that mindset is not enough is fascinating,
Mhm.
and to be honest, was a key reason why I wanted you on the show. So, why would you say that is not enough, and what are the no, what's the other piece of the puzzle that people are missing?
If mindset was enough, then anyone who had an aha moment, oh my God, I can do something differently, I can change my life, their life would change. But I'm sure you know people and your listening audience knows people who've read a book, they have had an aha moment, they've gone to a Tony Robbins workshop or a similar workshop, they have an amazing state experience, like they just see things differently. But then on Monday, they go back to work, they go back to their life, and they haven't changed their life because it was just a state experience. It hasn't been stabilized as a new way of being in the world. And the way you get a new mindset to stabilize as a new way of being in the world is not just cognitively. You can't just think your way into a new way of being. It's actually a whole nervous system, a whole systems approach. Your nervous system has to align because if your mind believes one thing and your body reacts in a different way, you're pretty much at war with yourself.
Hmm.
But if you can get alignment between your thinking, your emotions, your energetics, your somatics, your spirituality, like the whole system gets aligned, then you have that force multiplier helping you move in that new direction. Otherwise, not that you can't do it, but it's an internal battle, makes it really challenging and hard.
Okay, so you trained in somatic psychology. So how does the body play
Hmm?
a role in overcoming setbacks in a way that just mindsets can't face?
Well, so I could imagine, I'm sure you could imagine someone you know who's run into a setback. They failed at something, something's not working. And imagine in your mind's eye, physically, how most people show up when they show up that way. A lot of people just, they're kind of collapsed. They've given up. Their breathing is shallow, their shoulders are down, their energy is low, and understandably so. Like, that's just, for many people, a natural reaction to something that didn't work out for them. They're just kind of crushed energetically, physically. For me, that's really important because if you want to help them, first you have to help them understand how they do their reaction to a stressor like a failure. Once they understand how they do it, like the collapsed shoulder, the shallow breathing, the various things that occurs in their mindset, like there's a particular voice, maybe a tone, a volume, maybe that voice is telling them you're a failure, you suck, whatever the voice is saying to them, their body's believing it and their body collapses accordingly. And for some people, once you know how you do that, somatically, that's the way I work with people, you can help them reprogram their whole system to not collapse in the face of not a threat, but collapse in the face of a failure, but to learn to, like, wow, here's a lesson I've learned. Now I can take that information, I can take the wisdom I've gained from it and empower myself to move forward to try something differently. But like I said earlier, it's not just a mindset. You actually have to shift the breath, you have to shift the posture, you have to shift the muscle tone. Because I imagine you can imagine, as I could in my mind's eye, Someone like this, kind of collapsed and unconfident and is a lot different than someone whose shoulders are back, they're down, they're breathing fully, they're getting good eye contact, and they're confident. Two different ways of showing up in the world. And I work with people to go from the collapse, if that's how they do the thing, to the more confident, eyes open, eye contact, fully breathing, because it gives you access to the prefrontal cortex so you can make better decisions, empowering your system to move forward and take on whatever the challenge is in new and profound ways.
You also have a background in marriage and family therapy. So, what's love got to do with resilience? Is there any way our relationships affect our ability to overcome failure?
100%, 100%. So let me just use the context of a
Yeah.
couple, heterosexual couple, and I can give you like examples of people I've worked with. If one of the couple is having a really challenging time, whether it's maybe financially in the business space or a health challenge or whatever it happens to be, they would be so much better off if their partner is supportive of them to help them become more resilient. Because, not everyone can show up all the time with 100% vitality. Life is hard. Sometimes you're exhausted, sometimes you're burned out. And it can be really helpful to have a partner who shows up and can fill the space, can support you. If it's necessary, hold you accountable, at least support you till your energy can rise back up so you can better take on whatever the challenges are. And part of the resilience is not only how your partner shows up to support you, but the resilience of the partnership itself. So when I work with my couples, which I've done for almost 30 years now, I let me start with the man first, and just with the man for the woman. So what I will talk to the men about is if your female partner is having a really hard time, notice how you show up for her. Is your first inclination, your first impulse, oh, she's having a hard time, I'm going to fix her problem. A lot of men, that's their kind of natural impulse. Oh, there's a problem, I'm going to fix it. If I ask deeply with the men, like, tell me what it's about, it's out of love. They really want their partner not to have this challenge, but it's also because they don't like their partner being uncomfortable. It makes them uncomfortable. Okay, so what that says to me is that that man in that moment is not as resilient as he could be. And I help him. If he could become more resilient, he would be able to sit in his own uncomfortable feelings while she's uncomfortable without the need to fix her. If he's able to do that, then he can start engaging her and asking her, how do you want me to show up in this very moment? Do you want me to just listen to you? Do you, want me to help problem solve? Do you want me to help solve this issue? Do you want to brainstorm? Do you want me to brainstorm with you? Like, what do you actually need from me versus what I'm going to naturally do because I don't feel comfortable with you feeling uncomfortable. My natural propensity as a man for some is to try to fix your problem. If you're able to show up for your partner as they actually need you to, as best as you can, and to be less reactive inside yourself and more centered and calm and cool, you are more resilient. The relationship is more resilient. And between the two of you, you're able to accomplish a lot more instead of what I see with a lot of couples is it's me against you. I'm going to prove you right by proving you wrong. I'm going to prove myself right by proving you wrong. We go tit for tat. We fight back and forth instead of it's us two facing the challenge. This facing the challenge is much more resilient than two people fighting back and forth to prove who's right and the other person's wrong. So you can be interpersonally resilient too.
Okay, okay. So there's a buzzword we've been using in this conversation, resilience.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah.
a really interesting question I saw on your profile. It says, what is
Yeah.
resilience and why should I care? So I'd love to hear your own definition of it.
So I define it a few different ways. One, if I look at the whole human system and I ask, how can we make it more resilient? And I talk about physical optimization. If you're not sleeping well, you're not eating well based on your biology, your unique biology, you're not exercising, you're not doing movement practices, you're not dealing with your stress, you're not living within the 24-hour day-night cycles of your circadian biology, your human system physically is at a disadvantage. It's most likely dysregulated. You're less resilient, which means then psychologically you're also less resilient. Because if you feel like crap, it's really hard to be more resilient. So one of the first things I do with clients is help them optimize based on who they are and where they're at in their life, their physiology by touching upon those various things I just walked through. That's a piece of resilience for me. Another piece of resilience for me is I look at the individual psychologically and I ask about cognitive or mental toughness, emotional resilience. I ask about the energetics of the body, somatic resilience, spiritual resilience, and I walk through each of those. Now we're whole human beings, but I just break things apart for conversation's sake because we learn seemingly best that way. So like part of it is mental toughness. Are you capable of being front side focused and focus on your task at hand without distractions? That's what we can cultivate in you over time. To me, that's an important aspect of resilience. You're not distracted. And in our world today, we have a million types of distractions: drugs and porn, Instagram, YouTube, working out. Like we find all kinds of things to distract ourselves. So, can you sit longer periods of time, being front side focused on the goals you have? Can you also sit with your own experience longer? A lot of people are uncomfortable feeling their feelings. They don't like the anger, the sadness, the grief, the other feelings that may come on in their system. So they seek distraction, drugs, alcohol, porn, whatever the things are. And I say, if you want to become more resilient, you need to sit with your own experience longer. Sit with your feelings, sit with your thoughts. Now, you're not 3 years old. You don't have to express them all the time, but learn to sit with them, because for me, there's valuable wisdom in the body. You're feeling these feelings because there's something your body is trying to tell you. Listen and learn from those things. So you have the cognitive, the mental resilience, the emotional resilience, the physical resilience. And I'll say part of this too is spiritual resilience. What character traits are important to you that you're cultivating over time to show that you're much more capable and more resilient in your life? Like for instance, courage. Are you cultivating courage in your life? For some, cultivating compassion or love or empathy could be signs of building resilience, because they care not only for themselves, but they can care for another human being or a wide variety of human beings. So, what character traits? I mean, I have my own opinion on which ones are really important, but it doesn't really matter. It's like what's important to you that would indicate to you you're becoming more resilient in your life, both as an individual but also inside your relationships. And then we work on cultivating those. So part of the resilience is optimizing the physical system, mental toughness, emotional resilience, being able to sit with one's emotions for longer periods of time, interpersonal resilience, which I talked about earlier, between you and your partner, your romantic partner, whoever that happens to be. And then spiritual resilience, an aspect of that is developing character traits.
Indeed, a very, very insightful response there. So,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
so for the person who is facing major setbacks right now, and they are trying to just think positive, but it's really not working out. So, what is the first practical step you'd recommend them to take?
So this is going to sound kind of strange, but sleep.
Hmm.
It's really hard to make good decisions, see things more clearly, and take positive action forward in one's life if one's exhausted. So whatever you can do to increase the quality of your sleep, your deep sleep, your REM, the length of the time you're actually asleep, waking up feeling rested and recovered, all of that to me is probably one of the more important things that you can do if you want to recover more fully from whatever setback you have and be able to take on the challenge, more fully as well.
Okay, that was a really great piece of advice. So,
Thanks.
Michael, after this incredible multidisciplinary journey, from therapist to SEALFIT coach to policy expert, so what does being successful truly mean to you now?
Well, it's actually interesting. It's a great question, and it changes over time. I'll be 55 on Monday,
Wow.
so my answer now would be different than when I'm 30, than when I'm 20. And presently, I would say an aspect of for me of feeling successful is having greater and more meaningful and deeper impact on the people that I'm with, whether it's my clients, my friends, my family members. Helping anyone who's in my orbit thrive more fully is an indication for me that I'm being successful in the world. I'm providing something useful.
Great, great. That's an interesting one. So finally, for our listeners who want to connect with you or learn more about your coaching and work, so where is the best place for them to go?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you asking. To learn about my individual, my couples, my men's group, and my corporate coaching, you can go to Michael D. Ostrolenk. That's Michael D as in the letter D as in David, but just the letter D. Ostrolenk is OSTROLENK.com. And if you want to, I'm on Instagram and Twitter, M Ostrolenk, and on LinkedIn, Facebook, Michael David Ostrolenk.
Fantastic. So, this has
Cool.
been
Thank
a
you.
really fascinating and deep conversation, Michael, and I am really excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate you.